You were late.
Well, we were way off, but we got an actual clap in today because it didn't have to be quiet.
Yep.
Also, for people that may think I look like I'm sobbing, allergies are taking me out. So I'm not tearing up, but I know I look like it. So welcome back to the Relaxed Reps podcast.
What's
How's
up,
everybody been?
everybody? Yeah. Yeah. What's going on? It's good to be
So
back. It's good to be talking shop again. It's
it's
nice.
been a little bit. It has been a
Yeah.
little bit.
That's all right.
Got a lot of good ideas, a lot of good things lined up.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. What do you got for us today, Luke?
Absolutely. Well, we've been talking about this one for a while, and this is something that is kind of near to my heart because I feel like for me, we talk about intensity a lot and what intensity means. And intensity, specifically, kind of inside the weight room in strength conditioning terms, um, what certain people think it is, what I think it should be, or what how I use the word intensity and kind of verbiage behind that, and what that should look like. So yeah,
So how do you define intensity?
that's a great question. I don't know if there's this. This might be a good thing for us to kind of counter talk about because or discuss on. I believe intensity is it can be a couple things, but I don't think it shouldn't be just used willy nilly. The word intense and intensity. I think a lot of people coin that term and try to use it and try to make things super intense. And you think of intensity and you think of like the Ultimate Warrior. That's the first person I think of when I think of the word intensity. I think of him being super intense or having like some crazy bodybuilder or like those Diamonds Gym guys. That's what I think of when I think of intensity. I For me, intensity is more of what like a RPE scale or something when I think of intensity. Like a 1 to 10 scale, like 10 is the most intense that your body can take. That was like a, you know, 10 out of 1 or 1 out of 10. You know what I mean? That's what I think of when intensity. I think of percentage based lifting, those kind of things. 70% of your 1 rep max, that's the intensity that I want you to be performing this movement at. Those kind of things.
So let's say we have, I'm gonna be devil's advocate because I seem to be
There we
decent
go.
at that. Let's say we
Yeah.
have a frail, well, not, I won't say frail, a little elderly woman that comes into the gym and wants to train. What percentage of 1 rep max are you giving her for, I don't know, let's say a back squat? Let's say a barbell back squat, because everyone needs to be barbell back squatting. What percent of 1 rep max are you giving that client? How are
Who's
we
this?
finding it? Luke, let's walk
Mark
us backwards.
Rapito. um, Intensity. I wouldn't even use intensity with her. That's the thing, and I think that's what I'm saying is it's got to be in certain places, right? And just to say that we things need to be more intense. We have to have intensity here. That's where I kind of get lost with that, and maybe that's what you're kind of hinting at is I'm not giving an a woman, an elderly, not a woman. I'm not giving an elderly woman that maybe has a training age that's not great or like is probably too old to be barbell back squatting, those kind of things, or it's not worth the squeeze. I'm not going to be giving them an intensity. That's what I'm saying.
So, am I
We might
hearing you right? Are you saying that women shouldn't use back squat?
clip it, clip it. There it is. We just made our post.
I hope everyone
Oh,
knows that is entirely sarcasm. Um, okay, so I'm taking a step back to intensity. In my mind, intensity for the most part, whenever I use it, most of the time, intensity is weight on the bar.
yeah.
And that intensity is different subjectively for everyone, right? 100 pounds on your back is going to feel different than 100 pounds on my back or 100 pounds on my wife's back. So intensity, while objectively the same, can be subjectively different. Intensity being the weight on the bar. So I think, again, I coach in an online space now, you in person, and it's really tough, I've learned, to sync up intensities when you can't see someone performing a movement,
Yeah.
right? Because in gym, I
Mm.
have a memory of one of our old friends and soon to be golf partners, Big John. We were benching. This was one of our first times, him and I working together, and we were getting to the end of a set, and he went to rack it, and I unracked it as soon as he racked it, and he racked it, and I unracked it. And I was like, "You have at least 3 more reps. What are we doing? Like, this is not the end of your set." And he looked at me like, "Well, I'm under the bar, so I gotta crank out these reps." And he did. And I said, "Now we need to go up." And he goes, rolls his eyes. But you see that in person as a coach,
Yeah.
and you can move and change that intensity, the weight on the bar.
Yep.
Hey, this 135 moved really smooth. We should be at 145 if I'm being honest. Um, that's how you coach it in person, right? You just say, "Hey, move smooth. Things look great. We need to go up. We need to progress the intensity." But in an online space, oh man, it's tough. How did the day go for you? It was good. It's like, it was good tells me nothing. Tells me nothing
Yeah.
about the intensity of the day. And if intensities aren't aligned and we get 6 months down the road, well, where are my gains, coach? You didn't tell me anything about the intensity. I have no idea how hard you've been training. Yes, you did the program, but we box checked it. I don't know what intensity was there, right? So, yeah, I think intensities have to be aligned, and that's easier to do in person than it is in a digital space, in my opinion.
Yeah. Or I'll get this a lot too. Oh, it was hard. I thought it was hard. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. So what's hard mean? Give me a number, 1 to 10. Yeah, I thought it was like a 6. And I'll be like, oh, cool. So that wasn't hard. So let's add some more weight, and then we'll do it again. And then you can tell me if it's hard this time.
Yeah. Not to
I
say
get
that
that a lot.
6 out of 10 isn't a goal to have,
No,
right?
that's a
I
good
mean,
point
if
too.
we're talking
Yeah.
about an elderly client, one of my first internships was working with the elderly population. I don't want them at 9s out of 10s. I
No.
don't want them at 8 or 9. I don't want them 1 rep shy of failure. That can be catastrophic when you're talking
Yeah.
about someone that, is prone to falling over, right? So I might want them to be at a 6 out of 10. Maybe they have no training age. I know one of the things that we're going to talk about is people that have no experience in the gym and people that are returning to the gym. Those
Yeah.
RPEs are different for people, right? Because someone
Absolutely.
that's never stepped foot in a gym has really no idea what an RPE is, um, or how to even kind of make a mental framework of it.
Yeah.
And
How to
what
how to
I've
quantify that? That's a good point. Yeah. Yeah. Because you could ask somebody, hey, what's 1 out of 10? Like, how hard was that? If they have no idea, if this is their first time training, everything's going to be hard, right? So everything
mhm.
might be a 10 because they've never done it before. Yeah. That's a good point.
What the scale we used to use was 1 to 5, and I really like that because it's pretty absolute, right? 3 to 4 is a big jump, right? If I'm a 3, I'm real middle of the road, kind of tired, kind of dragging, but otherwise not too bad, not too beat up. But a 4 is like, okay, I'm pushing into the area that things are really tough. So I like the 1 to 5 scale versus a 1 to 10. Both are fine. Whatever coach prefers,
Yeah.
have at. But 1 to 5 is helpful. Oh, what was the other thing? Talking about someone that has never trained. Oh, an example I sometimes give people is like, think of 10 out of 10 being like a PR, right? If you're a
Yeah.
runner, you just PR'd your run. Like, you push it at the hardest pace you have. And that's your 10 out of 10. If you're, sparring in martial arts, maybe a 10 out of 10 is you rolled with the black belt in the room. I know I had no chance going in, tried everything I could, and I got nowhere for it. That's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
And a 1 out of 10 should be you and I on this call, right? There's nothing putting us in a fight or flight. Um, so that's kind of how I conceptualize it. But I also, tell people that we can use reps in reserve, and this is a super rough, translation here for powerlifters. Going to drag me out the door for this. But if our RPE is 9 out of 10, it's fair to say that we had maybe 1 rep in reserve because we're not maxed out. We didn't go to failure, right? And you can argue maybe 10 out of 10 is that maxed out, that 1 rep max, or you
Yeah.
could say 9 out of 10 is because you have maybe 1 rep in reserve. So split out however you like. But if it's a 6 out of 10 for RPE, then it's fair to say we probably have about 3 or 4 reps in reserve.
Yep.
So it's time to go up and weight depending on how many more sets we have and how many reps we have. So correlating that sometimes helps to
Yeah.
to help
It
people
gives
wrap
some
their mind around it.
context. It
Yeah.
gives it gives a little context to it. Yeah, and like reps in reserve, like what's left in the tank, how many more do you think you could have done with that certain movement, those kind of things. That's a good question too, because sometimes it's like, oh, well, I could have done 10 more, and it's like, well, that's not really the intensity that I was looking for. and we
Mhm.
need to add a lot more weight, right? That happens a lot too. So yeah,
Oh, happens a ton. I've had that, where I'm talking with someone. I say, well, we had a set of 10. How many more do you think you could have done? They say, well, I had probably another 5 or 6 left in the tank, and it's like, or I've had some say I could have basically done another set at the end of my set, and it's like, well, that's not
great.
loading. That's
Yeah,
not certainly not loading.
awesome warm up set.
Well,
There
but
you
and
go.
that was something that I appreciated about training in person when we did is when you see someone, and we would do this with adult clients all the time, right? They take out their first set weights, it moves super smooth, and we look at them and say, hey, that was a really good prep set. And they say,
Yeah,
prep set? No, that was my first set. And I say, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. There was no sign of like strain that went into that. That was a prep set. I saw how it moved. It doesn't count. They say, oh. So something happens within the client where
no,
they
exactly.
say, they have How to Win Friends and Influence People. Dale Carnegie, I think, was the author. We read it. People have a good challenge to rise to, right? So if I say, hey, that was a really good prep set, that's not our starting place. We're going to go up. I think clients, maybe there's something in them that says, all right, I did, on to the next exercise. I did, pin number 4 last week. I'm going to do pin number 5 on this, cable chop or, rotational lift or whatever it is. I think, put some wind in their sails if they know that you see them and something is too easy. And that's tougher to do, again, in a digital space.
Yeah,
Because last thing you want to do is
no,
bump
for
someone's
sure.
weights up when they're structurally unsound.
Yeah, I could definitely see that being the case in an online setting if they're like not giving you a lot of context, right? Just saying it's hard or saying it's good, and then not giving you a video or anything to show you what it actually looks like and what the movement looks like, right? Because that's kind of part of coaching too, is to analyze and say like, hey, well, you thought this was easy, and then I watched you do it, and it looked very, very challenging. That happens a lot with a lot of the younger clients that I have, the athletes and things. And I'm like, hey, we are not adding weight until this looks better, and we can kind of clean this up, and the movement proficiency is better, those kind of things, right? But you kind of miss out on some of those things in an online setting.
100%. 100%. I mean, yeah, all you can do is try to gain clarity and have eyes on movements and get that feedback after the workout. And yeah, dialing in those intensities and syncing them up is crucial. So I like subjective ways, RPEs and RIRs. But yeah, percentage based lifting, you have far more experience with that than I do. I I mean, I don't test anyone's. A few people's 1 rep max,
Yeah,
and even then, I'm not prescribing load based on that percentage because again, in a digital space, that consistency is tough to do.
yeah,
Um,
good call. Yeah,
Walking a step back for those listening that haven't worked with strength and conditioning versus personal training. In strength and conditioning, you work with teams whose job it is to go to their strength training session. So we know they're going to be there. They might be a bit beat up. You might have half the team. They may not want to be there, but you'll have them there. With personal training clients, you'll see people hit 3 workouts in a week, hit nothing the next week, hit 1 workout the week following, be back for 3 workouts the week after, and ask for a 4th to then hit nothing the next week. And it's like, we're not going to 1 rep max anything if that consistency isn't underlying because you're going to fold like a chair if we get even close to it.
yeah,
So, in the space that I'm in, yeah, I don't deal much with 1 rep maxes, but with an athletic population, it makes total sense because the consistency enough is there to be able to utilize it. Again, I would argue that I don't know. They're going to be dragging certain days, and you might.
yeah,
I'm not a fan, but that's just personal opinion. I know certain coaches live by it, and that's fine.
yeah, yeah. I guess to each their own, right? I think we're kind of on the same page with the 1 rep maxing. Um, but it is it's a great way to see how intense it is, right? It's great for a coach to come in and be like, man, this is super intense. They're lifting as heavy as they can. Or man, everyone's hooting and hollering. This is intense. The intensity's high.
Yeah. So if we talk about intensity of coaching, that's
Yeah,
something else too. People say they want an intense coach, but in my experience,
no.
I mean,
No way.
we have very different backgrounds. You have a football background where I think that mentality is kind of more favored, and I guess in combat sports you get some of that. That's never been my coaching style, the intensity. And I don't know, I feel like people are a bit too fragile in the personal training space, right? Because they're not chained to the facility like athletes are.
Yeah.
You really can't get away with that intense coaching as often, right? If I look at a client and
No
say,
way.
hey, I've seen you do one session in a month. What are you doing? Get it in gear. That's intensity. They're going to be horribly embarrassed. They're going to feel terrible and they're going to quit. And then
Yeah.
it's not good for me. It's not good for business. Um, so, I don't know. I think people want intense coach because they want the hype. Again, we've talked about it
Yeah.
before, that cheerleader mentality of like, people just want, you can do it. It's okay. It's all good that you missed all of your workouts all month. Not a problem. We'll start fresh next month. And it's like, I don't know. I think that the true balance is somewhere down the middle, as in all things.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
What
Especially
about you,
with
coach?
intensity. I'm the same way. And I this is funny. I do have athletes come up to me, old athletes of mine, and they'll be like, "Hey, remember when you yelled at our team and like you really went off on us and this and that?" And I was like, "Guys, that was like 5 years ago. Like I barely remember what that was about. Like like there's I think for me it's one of those things that I don't want to be that intense coach all the time because it's exhausting too. It's exhausting for me and it's exhausting for the athletes and for the even the personal training clients. It's like you don't want to be that high all the time. You want to have like a balance of high low and be able to get into situations where they need that. And sometimes you need to be loud and you need to um, raise the precedent a little bit. In my opinion, I know there's other ways to do it, right? You can go the opposite way and just turn all the music off, tell everyone to go home, or make sure that, like, make a kid sit out or talk to somebody in a way that's going to be more calm from that standpoint. Football is a little bit different. Football, sometimes you need to raise intensities, but that's just unfortunately the belly of the beast, I guess, with how the sport is and the dynamic of other coaches as well in the same setting, right? Because if I come off as too soft, then it's going to look that way that they can roll over me, unfortunately. And it's the same with any of the other coaches in the staff. So it's sometimes you have to bring it sometimes, but I kind of save those. It's like my last bullet in the chamber type deal.
You don't just rip your sleeves off and intimidate the other coaches that way. You just walk around in a torn,
Man, I
cut
wish
off
I could.
T-shirt.
Holy smokes! If I could get some gun show going, I need a couple more inches on the pythons for that to be the case. They're more like baby snakes. It's like a garden snake. No pythons here.
Well, we'll get you summer ready. We'll get you summer ready.
Yeah,
So
there you go.
intensity. What else? What else we got? Oh, something we want to talk about is comparing intensities for strength work versus hypertrophy work, because I think those
Yeah.
are misaligned. Well, those
Hmm.
are misunderstood by people. I have clients say, I don't want to lift heavy because I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to lift heavy because I don't want to get big. I don't want to get you know too big. And I'm sure our audience, all five of them, is tired of hearing me say it at this point. But no one just accidentally got huge and swole. Like no one mistakenly wanders onto the Olympia stage and takes gold. No one. So walking it back, intensity for strength and
Yeah.
hypertrophy. You and I know this. To those listening, those are vastly different set and rep ranges. Those are different recovery times. I would argue that for both strength and hypertrophy, most of the time, you want to be 1 to 2 reps from failure each and every set. Now, there's a lot of factors that play into that.
Yeah.
Training age being probably one of the biggest ones, because like we talked about at the beginning of the episode, you don't want to take the elderly woman that has no experience in the gym and have her get anywhere close to 1 rep from failure. But I don't know. The to your point, the percentage of 1 rep max, the weight on the bar is vastly different for strength work versus hypertrophy. The sets and reps are vastly different. But if we're
Yep.
talking about subjective intensity, I think that's not too far off. Would you disagree? Does that make sense?
I would agree with that. It's still the intensity is still high, right? It's still going to be hard, whether it's something that's like really heavy or you're grinding out a couple extra reps on some hypertrophy work. Because I think of strength work as something that's heavy for 1 to 5 reps, and hypertrophy work is kind of more in the opposite side of that, like 8 to 12 reps or more than that, eight or more, 8 to 12, 12 plus. That's kind of where I look at things at for hypertrophy work. And the weights are going to be different, but it's going to be a grind, and it's going to be like if you're doing it the way that we're saying, like with 1 or 2 reps left, it should be pretty hard.
I mean, yeah, I think so, right? That seems to fit. Um, I don't know. I'm trying to poke holes at this in my mind as we're talking about it. I guess what I'm thinking of is mostly our main mover lifts in a workout and some of our accessory and auxiliary stuff. But like our isolated stuff, I don't know. Like I can't imagine telling someone to go 1 rep from failure on a calf raise, right?
I
Or
was just thinking calf raise.
the wrist curls that we used to do on like the bar.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't imagine telling someone, "Hey, I want you to do that until 1 rep before your grip gives out." It's like I don't know that we have to go that far, but
I
yeah,
think those are hard to give out too. Like it feels like you kind of get to a point where it's like you just can't do it anymore. Like it's one of those things where you just physically, I don't know. It like a calf raise is one of those where it just you keep going for a long time, and then eventually like you'll get to like a certain amount of reps, and it just like, yeah, all right, you're done. Same thing with
you
like
don't see calves on a deer.
wrist work. You
You
don't
don't
see
see
calves
calves
on
on
a
a deer.
deer. If you know, you know, listeners. If you don't see calves on a deer.
In our pool
But
of 5 listeners, there's probably 2, maybe 3 out there that get that reference.
oh, I say that to my athletes all the time. Don't say that. I do it. All my athletes know that. All my athletes know that. You don't see calves on a deer. Say it all the time.
What else you got for intensity, coach?
Yeah, I mean, intensity is one of those things that I struggle with seeing a lot of people and coaches, and we've talked about this now with the language piece. Just what is intensity? Like understanding that things don't. It's an all or nothing mentality with a lot of people. That things need to be like puking. You need to be maxing out everything. You need to be grinding till failure. That's what a lot of people think intensity is, and I want to steer away from that. I want to steer away from that always being the idea of what the word should mean when you're in the weight room or when you're training or doing strength or even doing conditioning work. I think it's the same concept. And on the field, if we're doing tempo runs, it's not going to be run until you puke. It's not going to be 100% every time with no rest, right? That's the intensity is not going to be that. We have to change that idea and that narrative that is what intensity is, you know?
Yeah. In devil's advocate in true fashion, intensity does have to be 100% if we're sprinting. That's pretty, it has to be all out. Otherwise, we're running.
For sprinting,
Intensity
yes,
does
I will agree with
have
you
to
there.
be.
Like sprinting should be that way. Like every time you sprint, it should be 100%. That's my thought because then you're never going to be sprinting at 70%. You know,
Yeah. Let's see. I'm thinking what else intensity needs to be there, non-negotiable. It would be test days. Have to bring intensity for test days. Otherwise, our
I think
data collection is
plyometrics
pointless.
too, like
Yep.
jumping and throwing. When you're jumping
Yep.
and throwing things, it has to be as much intensity as possible. You can't just like half-ass one of those things, because you're going to either hurt yourself or it's going to be a waste of time.
I think this is from David Goggins, just to give it credit, and I could be all the way wrong. So buckle up, listeners. I think he has the saying, and you might have probably heard this before. When you're ready to give up, that's your 40% mark. So when you're, just ready to throw in the towel, you're 40% capped out of what you're capable of. I don't know if that's true. Again, knowing David Goggins, I'm sure that's
I love it.
likely
I'm sure
not
it's
based on
close.
a study that was not based on a study that was done. It's just kind of a
It's
anecdote.
David
But
Goggins. You
yeah,
don't need study.
there you go. Stay hard. Yeah,
He's probably
that
the reason why we're
mentality.
talking about intensity, by the way.
That mentality, I think, is where some people try to lean into their training, and it's like what burns hot burns fast, and that is not sustainable training to bring that intensity to every
Yeah.
session. The magic in training is knowing when to dose that in. I mean, it's like a vial of something concentrated, right? You just put a dash of it in, and you go,
Yep.
and a dash of it, and you go. But if you just pour that in every time you train, that's where I know I've said this to you a number of times. Things bend until they break.
Yep.
So if we're going to be intense every single time we step into the training area, something's going to break, or you're going to burn out.
Yeah.
Neither's
Flip
good.
that, because that's big.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to have high low. It can't be, it's like lemonade concentrate. I think of it like, the Minute Maid,
Exactly
like
that.
just dump all that in there and then it'll be like, oh, this is so better. This tastes like shit. And then, you
Yeah.
got to water it down, right? But yeah.
Good training is about ratios, and that's something that, something else we're going to talk about down the road.
Absolutely.
But to cap it off, yeah, intensity typically refers to weight on the bar. And while that's objective, intensity feels subjective. And make sure you're telling your coach what you're feeling in the weight room so that they can dose stress responsibly, dose intensity responsibly. Any other thoughts, coach?
Yeah. Keep training hard, right? Understanding what that means or what that looks like is, I think, important. So that's kind of the biggest thing, right?
Train hard at the right times.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, coach. You want to take us
Cool.
out?
All right. Till next time. 3, 2, 1.
Lean.
All right. Peace. See you guys.